What's up and welcome to Rayman Can. Today we are changing the transmission fluid on a 2016 Nissan Murano with the CVT transmission. Let's get started. So the tools and supplies I'll be using in this video are rubber gloves, floor jack stands, 4 of them, level, drain pan and bucket with measurement marks, safety glasses, funnel, drill, infrared heat gun, ratchet set, Phillips screwdriver, and very, very narrow flathead screwdriver, crushed copper washer, brake parts cleaner, and one of the most crucial things, the transmission fluid itself, particularly the NS3 kind by Nissan. By the way, I'll put a link to all of these items in my description. First thing we're going to do is pop the hood. The latch is right here to lift the hood up. You gotta push the hood down just a little bit, kind of push down, and then move that lever to the left. Then lift up. Just like that. Next, we need to remove this box right here. There's a few screws. You're gonna need a Phillips screwdriver in particular, or a drill bit. To remove this air intake box, we have 2 Phillips screws. This isn't something you necessarily have to do, but it's a little bit easier to remove the field plug when this box is out of the way. And this box should just come right out. So we have to move our transmission field cap. The way you do this is kind of tricky, but not really. Come here, let me get up in here. This hole right here, you have to stick something in there. Preferably a very skinny flathead screwdriver, very skinny. In my case, I can't find them at the moment, so I'm gonna use actually this nail right here. And you have to stick it in and push forward, and that'll allow the cap to come up. Let me show you this. So first thing I do, I push this thing forward so I can get the nail up in there. And then then the nail is currently on the tab, and then I'm gonna lean backwards and then pop this cap right off, just like this. Now we're gonna go ahead and jack the car up. Make sure you jack the car up under the correct jack points. And place jack stands under the car. Never rely on just the jack itself, especially if you're going under the car. At this point, the car is jacked up. It's nice and level. That's a very important step. Make sure the car is level. Have the exact amount of lift on each tire, as you can see. Front, back. Yes, I actually measured it. And you can also use the level if you want to, and you can put it right up under this thing right here and just see if the car is level that way. That's a lot easier if you have one. I recommend using the level on the front and side of the car. Now we're gonna start the car up and get it to operating temperatures. The operating temperature for this car to check the fluid correctly is right around 100 degrees, give or take. Okay, so we let the car run for approximately 10 minutes, and I have an infrared heat scanner tool, and I'm gonna scan the transmission pan to see what our temperature is. Again, we're looking for right around 100 degrees, give or take. All right, so we have the engine to the correct operating temperature using the scan tool. We got it to about 105 degrees. The scan tool that I was using, the infrared hand tool, isn't the most accurate. It all depends on what the temperature is outside. But we got it to, within a good margin of error at 105 degrees. Now we can go ahead and drain the transmission fluid. This is the drain plug right here. And this right here is going to be your overflow plug. FYI, while we're under the car, remember we are doing a very simple transmission fluid change. For a more thorough transmission fluid change, you actually want to drop this pan you see right here. There's a bunch of torque screws around it. You want to just loosen up these screws, drop the pan, take out the magnet. There should be 2 magnets inside, so take out the magnets. Clean the bottom of the pan. You're going to need a new filter inside the pan and gasket. Could be reusable depending on how old the this car is, but just buy a new filter and gasket. They don't cost that much, maybe 10 to 20 bucks. And then also, when you reinstall the pan and reinstall the magnets, Be careful not to over tighten these torque screws. They are very easy to strip. I've done this job before, so it's not a hard job, but just be very, very careful because you can strip it, then you have to rethread it. And then that's when you start, running into problems you didn't have to run into. This right here is the second filter. You can also remove this filter. There should be 3 bolts on this filter. There are 3 bolts on this filter, as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly. Just take these 3 bolts off, put in a new filter, reinstall that. One of the bolts is kind of hard to get to, but not impossible if you have the right tool. But yeah, that's how you would do a more thorough transmission fluid change. Again, we're just doing a simple drain and fill. All right, fluid's at the correct temperature. Let's go ahead and remove this drain bolt. We are going to need a 19 millimeter socket. Now that that bolt is loose, we can loosen it the rest of the way by hand. Next thing to do is clean off this drain bolt and replace the copper crush washer. After letting the fluid drain in the pan for approximately 10 minutes, we're now going to go ahead and replace the bolt with the new crush washer installed, and we're going to tighten it up nice and snug. Wipe away as much excess fluid as you can. This is important to test for leaks in the future. Now I'm going to go ahead and pour all my old fluid into a bucket that allows me to measure how much fluid I drained out. This is pretty useful because it gives me an idea of how much fluid I have to put back in, but this is definitely not the way we're going to measure it. But it just gives us an idea of how much we can expect to put back in unless we were running low. In this case, we are running just a little bit low, by the way. I expected to get just a little bit over 3 quarts out, but we're a little bit below that. Next step, we are going to go ahead and refill our transmission fluid. Make sure you use a clean funnel. I've seen people use funnels that are dirty. You don't want to do that. You don't want to introduce dirt into your engine or any component of your car in general. So always make sure the funnel is clean. But yeah, we're going to add 3 quarts of transmission fluid here. Actually, 3 to 4 quarts. Starting the car back up for the second time, getting it to the correct operating temperature, which is right around 100 degrees, give or take. Okay, now that we have it up to operating temperatures, we're going to go ahead and put it into each gear for about 5 to 10 seconds. All right, people, we are almost done. While the engine is still running, we are going to go ahead and remove our overflow drain bolt. Now, once we remove this overflow plug, that's going to let us know where our fluid level is at. What you want to look for is a very light drizzle or a fast drip. If you have that, that means it's at the correct level. So what you see right here is a very fast stream. That means we have too much fluid. We're going to let it drain just a little bit longer. By the way, if you have no stream or drip at all, you want to add more transmission fluid. Right about here is where you want to be at. Once it looks like this, that means we have the proper amount of fluid inside the transmission. Now let's go ahead and put the bolt back on and tighten it up, but do not over tighten it. After that, I always use brake cleaner to kind of clean off the surfaces, get all the oil off. Because I like to take a look, a couple days later, make sure there's no leaks coming from any of the bolts that I removed. Next up, put your cap back on. reinstall the air intake box with the 2 screws if you didn't lose them already. And just like that, we are done changing the transmission fluid on this Nissan Murano. What I would consider here is an express transmission fluid change, because we really only took out about 3.5 or 3.25 quarts of fluid. Remember, we didn't drop the pan. So what you could do is drive this car for about 5 to 10 miles, come back and do this all over again, and you can get another 3 quarts out. But all in all, this car holds about probably 9, I think it's around 9 quarts of transmission fluid. You're never going to get all of it out, but you could probably get about 90 to 95% of it out. But you're going to have to do multiple transmission fluid changes, especially if you did not drop the pan. So yeah, any questions or comments, please put them below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share, please like. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And also all the tools that I used in this video, I'll put an Amazon link below. You can check those out. And I appreciate you all watching. Take care.